Hey gang, welcome to my restart of my high value publishing webinar series. I haven't done these in quite a while. I've really missed it, missed hanging out with you all in here. For those of you who may not know, my name is Eric Shanfelt. I've been doing these series for a long time, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to get these restarted here. So I'm going to just dive on in. You guys can use the Q&A. Feel free to ask questions anytime along the way. I'll be monitoring those. And this is just the start. So I'm excited to get rolling back into these. Let me share my screen here. There you go. Hopefully you all can see my screen well there. Again, like I said, I'm really excited to get started with these again. It's been a long time since I've done these, and we're going to start out with one of my favorite topics and kind of setting the stage for this whole series. I'm going to be doing this at least for the next year, if not longer. I'm going to go through every single thing on how to build a successful digital media company. I'll talk to you more about this at the end of this particular session. This is kind of the capstone. This is the high level thing that talks about the characteristics of successful media companies in the digital space, what's worked and what hasn't worked with me working with probably hundreds, if not thousands of different media companies. But yeah, this is going to be an ongoing series, and I hope you'll enjoy. Let me dive in just a little bit, tell you a bit about me in case you don't know. My name is Eric Shanfelt. I've been doing digital media for over 30 years. Started out at a little IT B2B publishing company called Duke Communications. Went on, became the senior vice president of Penton Media, senior VP of digital for Penton Media, which has now been acquired by Informa. Was the senior VP for Virgo Publishing, for Interweave, which was a consumer enthusiast company. Was the senior VP of digital for the HarperCollins Christian Publishing division. I worked at a lot of companies. About 10, 15 years ago, I stepped out of the corporate space and started consulting with individual publishers and media companies, helping them with their overall digital strategy, growing their revenues, growing their audience, and improving their digital platforms. So that's what I do today. But I want to talk a little bit about why am I doing this series? Why am I doing this whole series? I can only consult with a handful of companies at any given time. And I love digital media. I love the publishing space. I love the people in the media. I love the passion everybody has in this. I love to help teach about digital media. I like to help companies succeed. And since I can only do a few at a time, this is my way of kind of, passing my 30 years of knowledge on. You may have other ideas and new things going on, but I've seen, like I said, almost 1,000 or so media companies and what's worked and what hasn't worked. So I want to share everything that I've learned here throughout my 30-year career in the digital media space. So we're going to start with, what are the characteristics of building a successful digital media company? We're going to start at the very top. This is absolutely true. You have to start with committed and engaged leadership. Your leadership, your CEO or your owner has to be committed to a digital first strategy and excellence in this. If they don't have that, if that's not coming from the very top, from the ownership, I've worked in privately owned companies, private equity backed companies, angel investment companies, publicly traded media companies. If it doesn't start at the very top, it's not going to happen. The culture comes from the top. If that doesn't happen, and if your CEO or owner or ownership group is not committed and involved, the best digital media strategies are going to struggle. So I've seen this happen over and over again. I've worked with tons of companies. The ones where the ownership is engaged, is involved, is driving the change. Doesn't mean they have to be involved with every single decision, but they are involved and they're engaged and they're driving this. It's a priority for them. Those are the ones that wind up being successful. The ones that don't get it, they struggle. They struggle big time and they just can't seem to get traction. This doesn't mean that the leadership, the CEO, the president, the owner needs to be involved in every single decision, but they've got to keep their finger on the pulse of things. They've got to stay informed, and they've got to be pushing for accountability, pushing for progress. It's a balance, finding that right balance between innovating and financial progress and accountability on the digital KPIs, which we'll talk a little bit later. So again, when I'm talking with companies, if I don't see a committed, engaged leadership, I won't even consult with them because I just know it's not going to go anywhere. So that's where it starts. And by the way, please do feel free to put into the Q&A any questions that you have here, and I'll be answering those as we go along here. So let's move on to the next thing. And you got to create content readers actually want. This is it. Content still is king, even in the digital space. If you are not creating content that's actually going to delight your readers, don't even bother. Everything else falls apart. This is the foundation. Everything else will fall apart. Your web traffic, your search engine optimization, being successful in AI, social media, email readership, paid subscriptions, controlled subscriptions, whatever your business model happens to be. If you're not delivering the right content, good content, forget it. You're already done. You're already cooked. By the way, this doesn't mean that you can't use AI to help you generate content in the right ways. But if you're only relying upon AI to just barf out content for you, you're not going to be successful in the long run. Now, there is a place for it. There's a place for it. And I've seen a lot of successful media companies successfully use AI in their content generation. At the end of the day, though, it kind of passes the old Google helpful content test. You may have heard about this. If not, come on back when we do the SEO session and you will hear a lot more about the helpful content. But for the B2B space, if you're in B2B markets, it's got to drive professional value, right? So you ask yourself, does this content we're creating, does it help my reader actually do their job? Does it help them grow their career and advance in their career? And does it help them stay current in their field? If it doesn't, then ask yourself the question, why are we doing it? I see a lot of content that B2B companies create that is just kind of throwing stuff out there. There used to be an old adage in the B2B magazine space called a rag, right? It was a rag publication. It's just regurgitation of press releases and stuff like that. You've got to actually have good content that will help B2B. In the consumer markets, it's got to be unique content that fuels your readers' passions, whether that passion happens to be a specific hobby that they're into, their local community, some sort of inspiration or enjoyment. But it's got to be that content that triggers their passion in them. All content has to be unique to you. It doesn't mean there can't be some content that is, in other places, but you've got to have your own unique take on that content. If you don't have content, something unique that only you can deliver to your readers, then you're just a commodity. You're just a commodity out there, and you are going to be fighting for every visitor, fighting for every email subscriber, fighting for every paid subscriber. So you've got to have unique content, valuable content that actually meets the needs of your readers, no matter what market that may happen to be in. Okay, so this is the other key, and you'll see this is going to build here. Once you've got that, then you've got to commit to delivering the content when and how readers want it. So I'm seeing this less and less, but I used to work a lot with publishers who were still print-centric. Their print publication was still the center of their model. They were, let's say, monthly or every other month. They'd publish a magazine, and they maybe drip out a few little news items or extra little content to the website, and then they'd send their print publication out, and then they'd maybe drip that content out on their website over the next 30 days. Or some of them wouldn't even put their magazine content on their website, for example. That's backwards. That's completely backwards. So I'm going to share with you one of my I call it my money slides. I have a group of these, but this is one of my money slides. Take a screenshot if you want to, but this is where successful media companies go. And if they're not there yet, they're moving there. Their website becomes the center of their universe. They're publishing to their readers as if they didn't have a print publication. I'll tell you why this works, because there's a ton of digital startups that are doing that. They don't care about print cycles. They don't care about issues. They're just publishing the content. They're publishing content that meets their readers' needs when their readers want it, in the way that their readers want to get it. And those are the ones that are being successful. So, for example, I always say with publishers, start publishing your content to your website as if you didn't have a print publication. Pretend you didn't. How often would you publish news updates? How much would you publish columns? How often would you publish some sort of a feature article? How often would you publish some data in a specific situation? Publish that content on a regular basis. And then, once you do that, that then makes your content instantly available to search. Google, don't write off Bing. Bing is getting really, really huge, especially with the whole AI revolution. AI generative like ChatGPT, Gemini, other search AI engines that may be out there. Your content can be instantly available. Whether or not you want to be in generative AI, we'll get to that in a later session as well, and we'll talk about what you could do there. But it also makes it available immediately on content distribution, right? Your content could be discoverable in Google News or in Google Discover, or maybe you've been invited into the Apple News program or Nextdoor News. By the way, if you're a regional or local publisher, you absolutely should be participating in the Nextdoor News program. I'll talk more about that later on too, or other aggregators that might be out there. You're then pushing your content out via an email newsletter, whether it's daily, whether it's biweekly, whether it's once a week, whatever that may happen to be from a frequency standpoint. And if you're doing it right, by the way, you don't even need to do this. This can all be automated. Your content is instantly available on social media. You've got to have, maybe you've got a native app. And if you don't, that's the next thing. How do you get desktop space on here? Native apps. iOS and Android, push notifications out to web and to the app. And then once a month, aggregate the best of the best content into your print publication, put a cover story on it that's unique, ship it, print or digitally, however you need to do that. And then put that cover story on your site. We can talk all about this stuff down the road. We're going to get deep into it. But the idea here is you're delivering good content, great content, when your readers want it and how they want to get it. It's fragmented, but all this drives people back to your site and develops the whole audience funnel, which is a whole nother section we'll get into. There's a lot here. Like I said, this is like the capstone. This is the overarching. This is the tip of the iceberg. And we're going to dive deep into all these various sections over time. All right. Let's move right along. If you have any questions on any of this or comments or disagreements, pop that into the Q&A, please. I really would like to see that. All right, other keys to companies that I have seen be successful online. They keep it simple, right? The whole KISS analogy, keep it simple, stupid. This holds true on let's talk about more on the revenue side. Let's talk about this holds true in the advertising revenue, and this holds true in subscription revenue, right? Keep your business model simple. So let me ask you a question. If I went to one of your sales reps and I would say, hey, how many digital products do you have, right? Clearly, I want you to just tell me every single thing that you offer digitally. What do you offer digitally? Could they do it in under 60 seconds? Could they explain all of your digital offerings to me as a potential advertiser or an agency in under 60 seconds? If they can't, you're too complicated. I can tell you right now, I do this all the time, probably 3 or 4 times a year. I work with media companies where we look at their media kits and we just go through and we just simplify everything. We simplify everything and all of a sudden we make it easy for the sales reps to understand, easy for advertisers to see the value, easy for agencies to see the value. Every time we do that, we will see revenues go up on the digital side, 50, 100%, 200% in the following 12 months. It's because we have gotten things too darn complicated. You look at programmatic vendors, right? There's tons of programmatic partners you can work with out there. I won't mention any of them here right now. But they'll come with this laundry list of items from YouTube video, OTP video, OTTV, programmatic remarketing, geofencing, programmatic email, right? This laundry list of things that overwhelm our sales reps, overwhelm our advertisers, let alone our own offerings. I've seen, some media companies where just on their website alone, they've probably got 15, 20, sometimes even 30 different products that they're selling. I don't know how a sales rep is supposed to have a 5-minute conversation with an advertiser, but you're lucky you get a call on that, and explain all this. You've got to keep it simple. And of the digital products you have, how many are actually selling? If you're not selling out any given product at least 50% of your inventory, you should drop it. If you're selling out a product more than 80%, you probably should look at raising your rates. So this is a whole simple thing we can go through. We will dive into some more advertising discussions in this whole series as we go along. Let's talk subscriptions for a second. Look at your subscription page. Number one, is your subscription offer simple, right? Are you offering let's talk paid subscriptions first. Are you offering 1, 2, 3-year paid subscriptions? Why? Why aren't you just offering a 1-year subscription, automatic renew? Every paid subscription should be automatic renew. If you're not automatic renew, you're missing the boat. And you only need to do 1 year if you're on automatic renew. You don't need to do 1, 2, 3-year options. Are you offering a print option, a digital option, a digital and print combination? I mean, I've seen some subscription pages that have so many combinations, the subscriber goes there and they're confused because they're going to analyze what's the best deal. And they're going to drop off. They're just going to drop off. I'll think about this later. Keep it simple. Make it easy for your readers. Is your subscription page work not only on desktop, but on mobile, especially in the consumer spaces? Does it work on mobile? And are you offering Apple Pay and Google Pay as an option because it makes it just dirt easy to do, right? All these things, are you doing it simple? If you keep your advertising model simple and your subscription model simple, you will succeed. You have a much, much stronger opportunity to succeed. And I am seeing a couple questions coming through. I will absolutely get to those questions here, so don't worry. The next key to success. This is what I call, pardon my French, this is the get shit done slide. Companies that are successful online get stuff done. They execute effectively. They prioritize. By the way, one of the best books out there is called Essentialism. I give it to every one of my clients. If you haven't, go check it out. The book's called Essentialism. The basic concept is, number one, priority was never a plural until the 1900s. It was always singular. There's one priority. Focus on that priority and get it done. The book does a great job of saying, hey, think of a stupid sports analogy, right? You could take 10 footballs, move them each 10 yards and never score, or take one football 100 yards and score. When you're going to execute, you need to prioritize what is the most important, what's going to have the biggest return for me with the least amount of effort. Focus on that, get it done. Then go to the next thing. Focus on that, get it done. The companies that fail are the companies that are trying to do 20 things at once because they're spinning all over the place trying to get things done. They make a little progress on everything, but they never complete anything and bring anything to market. So the companies that are successful execute effectively, they prioritize effectively, and they just get stuff done better than their competitors. Okay, next key here for successful media companies, you actually look at your key performance indicators. So we're going to talk about analytics in one of these sessions down the road here, and we'll talk about digital KPIs, key performance indicators. We have so much data as publishers. I mean, yeah, Google Analytics, I would have to imagine, honestly, most publishers aren't even scratching the surface of what you can get with Google Analytics, let alone looking at your email analytics, your social analytics, your subscription analytics, your, every different kind of analytic you can think about, right? Here's one example dashboard. Goes through everything from this is a KPI dashboard, right? This isn't every single analytic, but these are the key analytics. How they're looking at converting their audience, their paid subscriptions, their sales for subscriptions, their app downloads, the usage of their app, digital magazine views, emails, social media, tons of things on here. They actually look. Are you actually looking at your key performance indicators every single month? Do you know what they are? And are you then analyzing that? Are you looking to see, oh gosh, are there trends? We did this and that happened. Or, whoa, what happened here? This dove down or this went way up. What happened? Why? Are we analyzing that and feeding that back in to improve what we're doing? Successful media companies will look at their data. They're committed to looking at their data. They also understand the caveats of the data and how the data can mislead them, but they're analyzing that and then feeding that back into changing what they do and how they do that. So anyway, that's one of the key things here. Great question. I had a question here. Are all these metrics on this KPI slide available in Google Analytics 4? No. Google Analytics 4 is just website centric. It's website centric. You've got to grab other things like subscription sales are from their subscription system. Email stuff is from their email system. App is from their iOS and Android and Google Play app stores. Social media stuff is from that, right? So no, it's not from. It's not all available in Google Analytics. Google Analytics is great, but it's a very web-centric, a very Google-centric view of your analytics. So hopefully that helped. But look at your KPIs, know what your KPIs are, and actually analyze them. All right, then this is kind of one of my final pieces on what makes a successful media company in the digital space. You're staying up to date on changes because the digital media space, it's changing constantly changing. Hey, we all know what's happening right now in the whole AI space. It's massive changes. So we're going to stay up to date, but we're going to avoid shiny object syndrome. So I can't tell you in my 30-year career how many times I've heard about technologies that are going to revolutionize media, revolutionize publishing. I should put a list of these together sometime of all the things that are going to do it. There was different kinds of search engines that were going to do this. There was the whole virtual events and like avatars and in-person events and God, the number of shiny objects that I've seen media companies just go running after and pursuing. I mean, even to a degree, things like social media likes, social media engagement, social media followers, okay, but to what end? So what? You got 100,000 followers. What are you doing with them? How are they actually growing your business, right? Those are the questions. So we got to stay up to date, but we want to avoid shiny object syndrome. There's a couple of great little common charts out there. The innovation adoption curve. I always tell media companies, hey, keep an eye on things. Keep an eye on things out here where they're innovating and into early adoption, right? Some people are beginning to adopt them. But this is where you're going to spend a lot of money and not see a lot of return. Where you really, in my opinion, want to jump on to technology adoption is right here, right at the end of early adoption into early majority, because now it's proven. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do some things down here and we shouldn't be experimenting down in here, but I'm not going to build my business upon something with that. You don't want to wait till you're down here because now you're behind the curve. That being said, even if you are here, you can get up to speed pretty quickly on this. So be careful. Don't jump in. I like to say, don't be on the leading edge, but not the bleeding edge. This is where everybody jumps on board, the whole virtual avatar trade show concept that just petered out, never really did anything on there, right? You want to avoid that. I will tell you right now, artificial intelligence, AI, and the effective use of AI, which is more than just generative search you're going to get on like ChatGPT or Google Gemini and search engines, or writing content. Boy, there's a lot more that we can do, especially when we get into using AI in an agentful manner. It's pretty amazing. AI is here to stay. It is here to stay. It is going to radically change the media landscape, to me, just as much as the internet changed the media landscape. And again, I've seen other little bubbles along the way. This is a major one. So you absolutely need to be getting on that. We're going to talk a lot about AI in this series, but in the right way, and at the right times. You don't want to overcommit, but you don't want to be behind the curve either on that. The other one I'll just point out here is this is I think it's called the Gartner chart. It talks about, hey, some new technology comes in, everybody gets really excited about it. There's all these inflated expectations, and then there's what's called, oh, the reality sets in. We get disillusioned because it doesn't really work the way we thought. And then we wind up finding the right ways to integrate it into our business, and now we start becoming productive with it. Every single technology follows this kind of curve. AI is following this curve right now, right? There's this huge inflated expectations. When you actually get to use it, there will be this trough, but then we're going to find a good level of productivity. So I'll leave you with that. I want to just briefly talk about what's next in this series, and then I'm going to answer a few questions here. So what's next? I got this whole roadmap I've created of all the different elements of things that impact digital media. This is kind of like, they call it the digital media blueprint, if you would. And I'm going to be doing these. So I'll probably be doing 2 of these blueprint sessions a month. Once a month, I'm going to bring in a very good friend of mine, and we're going to talk about all the new developments that are happening in the media space, things you need to be aware of. His name is Jez Walters, and he's with What's New in Publishing. So we're going to talk about what is new in publishing and get on that. And then the other week in the month, we'll be talking about some specific things that I think are interesting, some specific examples out there, some other technologies. I'll probably be bringing in some other key people in the industry to talk about everything from advertising to circulation to web hosting to you name it in there. But these digital media blueprint sessions, of which this is the first one, this is where I'm going to literally lay out the exact steps for every one of these things. What are the best practices for media websites? Search engine optimization. It's more than just doing your headline. It's a lot more. Email. What's a good email and email newsletter strategy? Content distribution strategies, organic social media, other kinds of platform communications with SMS and web and apps and Facebook channels and WhatsApp. We're going to dive deep into a bunch of advertising strategies that are successful, subscription strategies, and we're probably going to get a few other things like some that aren't necessarily fun, but are critical, like securing your digital infrastructure. Guys, if you don't have good security, you're leaving the keys to your business unlocked. Privacy laws and compliance, I know it sucks, but it's a reality of today's world. So we're going to dive into a lot of this as we go down in. So I hope you'll join me for those sessions. In the meantime, let me answer some questions here. So I got a good question. How can we from anonymous attendees? Come on, guys, put in your names. We're a small B2B niche publisher trying to go all digital and stop doing print. It says we strong website, but still print advertising brings in more revenue. Can we get those print advertisers to go all digital? The answer is yes. Yes, you can. I actually, when I work with companies who do this, I recommend that you look at not just revenue, but profit, right? So you look at your digital revenues and then you look at the profit of that. So your editorial, your audience development, your ad sales teams, that stays the same, whether you're all digital or print plus digital. Your revenue, look at that, but you do have hard costs. So you have circulation development that you have to do. Sometimes you'll have to do audits that you'll need to do. It complicates things. You'll have printing, you'll have mailing costs. Look at the actual profitability of both and see if it really is as valuable as you think it is. I often find print isn't as valuable. That being said, I have some B2B media companies I work with who absolutely do want to keep their print, and they're being very successful. For them, everybody in B2B has dropped print, and print is actually a differentiator for them. So I guess the answer is it depends. It can be done. Industry Dive, probably the best company that built a giant B2B media company, sold for $250 million a couple years ago and didn't even have a print publication. So you can get the advertisers to go all digital if you show them the right returns and you create a simple ad program that delivers value for them that you can quantify. So hopefully that helps with that. Is the money slide with the website at the top? What do you think about starting with Substack as the website? I'm fine with Substack. Substack's a good platform out there. It's got some good email and even some revenue stuff built into it. I still have some hesitations about this. So in other words, can you build a media business off of with Substack as your basis? Yes, you can. Can you do all the things you really need to do? To a point. At some point, Substack is going to become a limiting factor. So I still, frankly, if you ask me, my favorite, WordPress is still by far and away the best platform. Not WordPress.org, but your own hosted WordPress is still the best platform to build a digital media business off. But you can build off of Substack. I just would not recommend it for the long term. By the way, I saw a couple people who have, kind of raised their hand. I don't have live on this, so please use the Q&A function on the toolbar down there. Just hit that, type in your question, and submit that. That'll be great. Here's another question. You mentioned apps. Is that really about having another means for content discovery in the wake of AI search, making that more challenging, or about regaining control over audience relationships? Do you see them solving a different challenge? So I did mention apps. Digital apps, I've got like probably a dozen or 20 or so different publication apps on my phone right now. Apps serve both purposes. I don't think it's so much in the wake of AI per se, which, by the way, I have a whole really interesting session we'll talk about in AI about there's different kinds of content and different kinds of markets. There are some kinds of markets that are doing great in AI. There's others where AI is killing their traffic. We'll go over that at a later date here. But yeah, it is. I mean, I would have said this even before the AI. Having real estate, living rent free on your readers' desktops is huge. This is their new desktop, right? The mobile device. So I'm a big fan of apps in the right place. I do see them working better in the consumer markets, whether it's regional consumer, city lifestyle magazines, whether it's news, whether it's hobbyist, enthusiast publications. I do see it working a little bit better in the consumer space. That being said, I do see instances of it working well in the B2B space as well, especially if you've got really, really good content that people want to stay up on. So I do see that working there. So yeah, it is another way to have direct control over your audience relationship, but it really kind of solves a multiple of factors. Hopefully that helps with that. Another question. Is there a minimum number of articles or posts or newsletters per month for B2C and or B2B if it is different? No. I would go back to ask yourself your audience. What does your audience need? If you really want to provide them with the information they need to either be successful in their job or to be to really fuel their passion, What do they need? How often do they need it? So let your audience be the driver of that. That being said, I work with some media companies who are doing 20 stories a day. They're in more the news space, business news or consumer news space. I work with some companies who do maybe one post a day. And are out there. What the key thing is, and I will go back to my content slide here. Delivering content when and how readers want it. It is being consistent. Consistent content on a reliable, regular schedule. That is the biggest thing. And if you're going to do less content, then your content has to be really valuable. If you're going to really valuable. If you do a little more frequently, you can do a little more frequently. It also depends upon your business model. So it's kind of like a car, right? All these pieces have to work together to run. So like asking them articles is saying, well, how high should I'm going to geek out on this, how high should the piston throw be in the car? Well, it depends. How is everything else tuned and working together to meet the needs of your audience? So again, I've seen it work with 20 some articles a day. I've seen it work with maybe one story a day or one story every couple of days, as long as it's good stuff that people really want. So hopefully that answers your question. Guys, I'm running out of time here. I've got one more question I'm going to answer, and then we're going to call it a session here. It says, do you suggest developing a digital media calendar that integrates editorial and advertising subscription offerings on email and social media, monthly, weekly? The answer is yes. I recommend having a content calendar that, going back to this, have a content calendar that's going to say, okay, we're going to try to post, X number of stories throughout the week, these kind of number of news, maybe some columnists, maybe a feature story throughout the month, right? Like a content calendar. And then once a month, we'll put that into publication and distribute it out. And so whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly, whether it's daily, again, that's back to how much content do you need to do in your particular market. So anyway, that's it for today. I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys for a little bit. Please do tune in. Every single week I'm going to do these. I'm going to make them available. As we dive into the blueprint here, we're going to spend the first part of the session. We're going to dive in deep, but then along with that, I'm actually have standard operating procedures that you'll be able to access and utilize in your business for every single one of these steps. So hopefully you can tune on in, and I've enjoyed hanging out with you guys for today. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Cheers.